Welcome, everyone, to Uplifting Humans, where we honor, empower, educate, and inspire the listener with real stories and expert advice. I'm Salindran, your host. Our guest today is Jon Freeman, a returning guest who is an author and public speaker specializing in science and spirituality. As an organizational development specialist, he is passionate about creating the mindsets for the future. Jon holds certification in leadership coaching and emotional spiritual intelligence coaching, and is a spiral dynamics practitioner and trainer. Welcome, Jon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Salindran, and it's lovely to be here again.
It's a great privilege to have you with all your years of experience and knowledge, and not just the knowledge. It's actually, you really put a lot of the work that you've done into your life, and that makes it that you're a master at what you do. So Jon, you know, it's not just about that. We want to be able to really fully capture your story, and that's why we've asked you to come back again. And hopefully you're ready to have that conversation.
I'd like to think so too.
Yes. So now, last week, we had a number of listeners that were asking questions, and what I'd like for you to do, just to get started, Jon, is just for anyone who's new, hasn't been able to listen to the first episode, maybe just give a quick rundown as to your work and how it applies to life.
Okay, well, that's potentially quite a big question. Let's see how much I can bite off of it. So, as you heard last time, where this started was with me having a psychic experience and realizing that I had to reframe the whole way that I looked at the world. And the more I did that, the more I found that was about that basically we are trained to think of the world in a way which misleads us. We think that the world is a material entity, and we are not taught, or we're actually taught not to connect with it as something which is driven by consciousness. And so, while my perspective, having kind of trained other people to have similar experiences to the one that I had, is that everyone is born with some intuitive capability, some ability to connect to the consciousness flow, the information flow that is in the universe. We are all firstly taught not to believe in that, and then those of us who discover that it is a possibility tend to struggle to find our way into truly making use of that. And that deprives us of so much, because we could have access to so much more of what would help guide us through the times of difficulty, that would help us be better at picking the right people to have relationships with, be better at having a sense of who is in our workplace, who can be trusted and who cannot. You know, there's just so much that we are disconnected from in terms of the information that's available to us.
Now, some of the people out there, Jon, have expressed that intuition is like a sixth sense. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, and I would say that it is, you know, a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and possibly more, because what is available to us if we start to explore these areas is that it's not just some kind of you're sitting there with the radio turned on and you might, if you're lucky, kind of hear something that is useful. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
our sensing systems, our connection systems, which are kind of their whole body experience. They're not just something which happens between your ears. That as we connect to that capacity that we have, what we can learn is that your senses can be projected into all sorts of other places. So maybe some of your listeners will have seen a film called Men Who Stared at Goats,
Mm.
which was a kind of a comedy version of something that Russian and US military alike both experimented with, which was having people sit in a room and try and find out where the other's bases were. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
discover concealed nuclear weapons and so on. Now, those programs actually worked. So the ability to do that, that is something which potentially any of your listeners could have. The story that I told about my first experience, which was using, which was intended to be something which would support healing,
Yes.
was to project my senses inside somebody else's experience. So you can do that, but you could also do that for your pets in order to find out what's going on with them. Or you could set it up to be more aware of what is going on with people in your family or your colleagues.
So this is really exciting because, you know, when you're referring to the military, it's a lot of that remote viewing that they used to really use. I shouldn't say used to, because I think that they still use it. Um, but they just haven't had it so that the masses are aware that they actually use individuals with heightened sensitivity and ability to actually see what the other side is doing. And it's really interesting because what you're speaking of isn't a hit and miss thing. It isn't those serendipitous moments that all of a sudden, you know, you get them once in a while when you're really tuned in on the odd occasion. But now imagine, you know, for all those listeners out there, imagine this, and you can actually develop this ability. It's not something that you don't have, you have it. But now Jon is speaking about how you can actually develop this and use this in your relationships, in your career, and even you know, I know there's a lot of situations right now people are looking at how they're going to make their ends meet. And what if you can use this navigation system to go ahead and figure out how you're going to bring more abundance and flow of money, and then have an incredible experience rather than a struggle right here on this realm. um, and you know, I know that Jon, you have gone ahead. Now, you started off in academia, right? That was your world. Your world was very academic, analytical, and then went into this. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, partly. I mean, yes, I was certainly trained academically, and I mean, I went to Oxford, which is a fairly prestigious place to go. So I had that background. But actually, where I then went with it was I went into working in businesses, because I went into information technology. So I had the mindset that came with my academic training, but I was also I was very practical. I was very interested in how you uh, apply knowledge. And
Right.
so in the IT field, my passion was building systems that would really make people's lives work better.
Yes.
So what I've taken with the book, going from Science of Possibility into the Access to Possibility programs,
Yes.
is taking the knowledge of how things work and saying, okay, now here's what you can do with it. So
Right.
coming back to your sense that, yes, everybody has the potential to be intuitive.
Yes.
If I were to say, you know, you could play the piano. People would understand that, well, maybe they would start off with kind of chopsticks, but if they really worked at it, they could get to some kind of reasonable piano playing standard. Well,
Yes.
intuition is no different than that. It's not like
Yes.
some magic switch that can be turned on and off. I mean, there are some people who are more gifted than others,
Yes.
just like there are some people who are more gifted at playing the piano than others. But we can all make some kind of music with this.
Right. So there is potential and possibility, and it is a skill set that you do have to develop with. It's like walking or any of the above. I mean, I think that's kind of the direction that I know that for myself, my own experiences, if I do not use that skill set, well, I'm going to start to lose it. And so if I really want to become good at something, I have to keep applying what I know, and then it gets better and easier and faster. So that being said, now I really like where this is going, because now you can take the access to possibility programs, and you can actually bring it into your relationships. Who doesn't want a better relationship? There's always someone that you wish you had a better relationship with. And like Jon, you said that you can bring it into navigating your career. Maybe there's someone there in your line of work that you wish that you could understand at a different level. And of course that's huge as well. So speak to us, what else you have coming, what else is in the works, because I'm really excited about this program.
Okay, well, let me start with this simple thing, which is that the connection that you develop through intuition works both ways. So it's the lead in to being able to do things that people have always tried to do. They've either called it prayer, or they've called it the secret, or they've called it law of attraction, or there's lots of names for it, but it's
Yes.
this idea that you actually have an input into what happens in
Right.
the universe. And so when it comes to your career, not only can you be more attuned to what's available, that you can start to kind of develop the field, to influence the field so that it is opening up for you, and so that more of those synchronicities happen. And so
Yes.
you start to create that in the universe, and then your intuition also helps you be able to spot the synchronicities, because otherwise it's very easy to kind of for them just to go past and you miss them.
That's right. That's right.
So the basis of this is I describe how all of that works in a simple book, which is available free as an ebook.
Oh, wow.
This,
Free.
this it's free. This is what it looks like when it's in hardback, and you could find that on Amazon if you wanted.
Yes.
But yeah, if people want to, they can get that book, and it gives all the basic steps which are about what we need to understand and know about
Yes.
the way that we create that relationship with the universe, which is that mix of listening and asking, that the kind of letting go that you have to do in order to create the space for that, the
Yes.
space of trust that you have to develop in order for that to work more effectively, the space of appreciation that you need in
Yes.
order to keep the resonance and keep the invitation open. So that is what that book offers.
And where can
And
we get it for free? Sorry, John, can you let the listeners know where they can get that for free, or they can purchase it on Amazon? But I
the,
think the key is the free offer that you have. Where can someone go to get that?
okay, well, I'm going to give you two answers because
Yes.
there's the Access to Possibility Facebook group. So if
Yes.
people sign up to that, they will find a way to get hold of the book through that. And then there is the accesstopossibility.net website, and that will have the link to that, and it will have the link to more besides. That's kind of all coming together as we speak.
And so just so that the listeners out there don't have to run and get a pen and piece of paper or put it into their phone, I will have the link to the Facebook page on the site. So whether you're listening to the YouTube or you're going in and listening to the podcast, it will be offered under the brief intro and description of our conversations here. So you will have that. Access to possibility. So a free intro book. How wonderful is that? What else is coming down the pipes, John?
Well, the big thing that's coming along behind this and will kind of launch fully in about a month is the Connect to Source program. And that is what offers people the potential to actually develop all the skills that we've been talking about. So to practice, to have a program which will enable them to practice over and over again, because it's a set of visualization exercises. So once you've got them, you could do them, every day.
How wonderful. How
As
wonderful.
you develop the ability to to do all of these things, to listen, to project your senses into other places, to experiment with what it is like to project your senses inside your household pet. So all of that, it works through a sequence which is kind of the development of those capacities and the practice that we just kind of spoke about.
Yes.
The practice with those capacities that builds up your piano playing fingers,
Yes.
and it takes us to the point where we also work through the development within of the mindset that enables the creative side of this, the making your reality work for you side of this,
Yes.
all that it takes to open up your inner being and take down the historical blocks that most of us were programmed with, that would inhibit us from doing that, so that we become more effective.
So this is a beautiful offer, because what you're doing is you're taking, a few decades work, and you've really, really condensed it and simplified it, which is beautiful, because otherwise, people get overwhelmed and they don't know even where to start. But, to have someone like John to show you the way, to lead you the way, and to be in the company of incredible beings that are also joining you on this journey, some ahead of you, some behind you. You have a great Facebook page that you can participate on as well. And now this course that you're going to be offering, is it going to be like a certain number of series, or is it something that they just purchase one time and work through it on their own? Can you give any other details about that, John?
Okay, so it's sort of in between those two, because you purchase it as a series, but I only deliver it in a kind of stepwise fashion, so that you get the first two visualizations, you have a few weeks, then you get the next two. You also get some guidance notes, which are quite deep in themselves,
Yes.
which are about kind of developing the frame of mind which makes the exercises work, and which helps you understand what you're doing when you do the exercises.
Right.
And then there will also be a monthly group, a kind of webinar Zoom session where people can come along and we can talk about the experiences and people can ask questions, and so there'll be some, you know, shared
Experiences.
development and experience, yeah, as we go along.
That's a great opportunity, and this is all going to be done online, which is a huge benefit also to the listener out there, because having time to maybe travel, maybe pay for room and board somewhere, that becomes very, very expensive as well. And so this is a great opportunity for people. And do you have any other offer for our listeners out there, Jon, that you'd like to touch on?
um, well, I am working on something which will also arrive, I think, relatively soon, which will be a smaller offer, and that's about people connecting with their purpose.
Very nice. Who doesn't need that? I mean, you imagine a ship lost at sea not having any direction as to what they truly do desire and want to align with. Their calling, shall we call it, their calling.
Yeah. So that won't be such a big offer. It'll be one visualization and then a workbook. And I was writing the workbook today, so that will be finished in another week, and that will be up on the website as soon as I get it all finished. But the visualization is done. So and so people will be able to, the way I'm going to do this is that people can get the visualization on its own.
Yes.
Or they can pay a little bit more and they can get the workbook that helps them then do more with what they get from the visualization.
Nice, very nice. Well, this is a great opportunity, even for myself, and I look forward to that. Now, Jon, is there anything else that you would like to touch upon that we have not discussed and that you feel that is very relevant and maybe the listeners need to hear before we move forward, and we'll go over some of the details as to your website and Facebook URL?
Well, there are always the way my mind works, there are 100 directions I can go in, and I have so many. I mean, it would be great for people to, even if they just take the free offer of the ebook, to kind of put themselves in a position where I can let them know of other things that are going to come, because later in the year I will be doing a program about parenting.
Oh, how exciting is that? So tell me a little bit more about that, because you know what? There's always so many of our listeners that tune in and they are parents or grandparents or caretakers. And so, you know, that would be a great offer as well. Well,
I'm very much looking forward to getting that out there. I mean, again, it's something that the book is written, and so what it's based on is the idea that it's easy to think of ourselves as kind of one kind of parent, you know, because yes, we don't change, but our children do. Yes. Now, our children have different needs at different ages. So actually, we have to adapt to that.
Yes.
In terms of, this is how you be a parent to a 2-year-old. This yes. is how you be a parent that recognizes what a 6-year-old needs.
Yes.
This is what a teenager is going to need from you. So there's seven stages in right. the process that I described. So it's effectively 7 ages through to adulthood.
Yes.
And so it describes what's happening in the changes that are going on in children as they yes. move from one stage of their development to the next. and what do they most need from their parent in order to support them to have the best out of that developmental stage.
Yes.
So I mean, this relates, you said that I'm a spiral dynamics practitioner and trainer. Spiral dynamics has a whole view of the way that human consciousness or human ways of seeing the world evolve.
Nice.
And that evolution happens in children. So we go through a particular set of stages which are really quite well defined and which are
Yes.
easy to understand.
Yes.
So that'll be coming along,
Nice.
the
I'm
7 stages
excited.
of parenting.
Very nice. Very exciting, because I think that the world can really use some more information about how to navigate parenthood, because let's face it, you can go out there and even, to learn how to drive a car, you have to go through some formal training, and yet you can bring this incredible new life on this earth, and you have zero training. Zero understanding. It's whatever you choose to do. It boggles my mind, and so I'm excited about that as well, Jon.
Yeah.
So it will be, you're hoping that it'll be in 2020 that we'll be able to have that conversation, or do you think it'll be in 2021?
Oh, my ambition is for it to be in 2020. I'm seeing it as
Perfect.
a maybe fourth quarter, because, well, so much of the material is there. It's about shaping it in such a way that then people can make the best use of it. You've been very kind of generous in the way you describe what I do, but it certainly matches my intention, is that I want to make this as accessible and as easy as possible for people. I want to have ways of delivering what I
Yes.
do that people can come back and, when they forget, they can have another look. I mean, particularly with something like parenting, they may want to
Yes.
keep coming back. They'll get this book when their child is 4, and they'll want to come back when the child is 8 and say, okay, what do I need to know now? So
That's
that's
right.
quite a long-term journey.
Yes,
And
exactly.
we all, as you say, we all have zero training in that process, and we typically start with kind of either what our parents did that we liked, so we're going to do the same thing, or we
Yes,
start with what our parents did that we didn't like, so we're going to do the opposite.
that's right.
And
That's right.
that's not really a very sound basis. And of
No,
course, the parenting does fit with the intuition, because if you're able to tune in and listen to what your child is hearing on a different level, you also have the potential to be more aware of their needs, and so to tune into those changing needs with a greater sense of discrimination and facility.
that's right, and that's very well put. Yeah, I find it really fascinating that a parent will just do whatever comes naturally to them, navigating from a point of what I didn't get enough of, or what else do I want to do in the opposite direction. Or the other thing is that when things go wrong, when things are completely messed up, that's when they actually decide, oh, I think I should go and seek some outside help or opinion, because now I've really mucked it up. Well, why not just start with learning the journey prior to, and then it'll make things a little bit easier and smoother for you.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, every child is different. So you can go out and you can sort of read books about parenting, but they
Yes.
don't prepare you for the reality of this completely unique individual who has their own way of being, their own agenda. They are going to be telling you what they want if you're able to attune to that and listen. So when we come
Yes.
into parenting with some kind of prior notion of, well, it's going to look like this, and I'm going to do this, and then they're going to do this, and I'm going to take them through this.
Yes.
I mean, my youngest son,
Yes.
I have a lot of musicians
Yes.
in my family,
Yes.
and there was a kind of an expectation and a hope that my son would be musical.
Yes.
Well, he isn't particular, but he had a great passion for drama and theatricals, and that's where he chose to go in, you know,
Yes.
in what turned him on. So
Yes.
you have to be able to listen to what's coming from them, because if you have a, if you know, I mean, it's not that we didn't offer him the chance to learn the piano and the violin and stuff, but it just didn't land with him. So you
Yes.
have to be willing to hear and relate and go with them.
Yeah. And that's very well put, because their life is their life.
Totally.
And you need to remember that. Well, it's been a pleasure as always, Jon. I will definitely have you back. I will, sorry about that. I will definitely have you back on, Jon. And any last words from you to the audience?
Oh, um, I just encourage them to leap in and find out and experiment and play and just join in the fun.
And don't forget to look for the link. And if you want that free book, I highly recommend it. And on that note, I'm Salindran Buller, your host of Uplifting Humans, where we honor, empower, educate, and inspire the listener. Thank you so much, Jon. And thank you to our listening audience. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.